And the purpose of the meeting is very straightforward. It's to give a summation of our previous engagement and our consultation process derived from the letter that Ugo sent to the State Historic Preservation Officer on October 1st, and on which all participants in today's meeting were copied as consulting parties. It is also to provide another opportunity for public comments on what you have seen and heard and what has been discussed in this consultation to date. It will also include next steps on our NEPA analysis and the schedule that we will be targeting for that, and then we'll close. So without further ado, Ugo, how would you like to proceed through would you like to just call people in the queue, or for the introductions?
I think we should ask the consulting parties to introduce themselves, and then we can certainly move on to GSA staff. And I'm just going to go with who I see on my screen here. So if we could start with Pamela. Pamela, you are on mute.
Oh, okay, now you can hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm Pamela Najowski. I am with the End of the Trail chapter of the Santa Fe Trail Association, and I am here representing our local board. Though I must state, if I have anything to say at this point, I would have to be speaking as an individual, since I can't consult with my board on the spot. But I'm happy to be here to learn about the process, and I was really pleased to get the report about the federal oval. So, thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. Next on my Brady Bunch screen here is Heather Lamboy.
Sorry, obviously I have problems with unmuting. My cursor was going everywhere. Hi, I'm Heather Lamboy. I'm the director of the Planning and Land Use Department with the City of Santa Fe. I manage our Historic Preservation Division, which includes archaeological as well as historic building review and structure as well. And thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Let's see, next on my screen is Dr. Bruce Bernstein. If you could introduce yourself.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bruce Bernstein. I'm the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer for the Pueblo de San Ildefonso.
Thank you, Dr. Bernstein. Next on my screen is Larry Samuel.
Good morning, everyone. Larry Samuel from the Pueblo of Tesuque with the Tribal Historic Preservation Office.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel. Next on my screen is Michelle Enzi.
Good morning, Michelle Enzi. I'm the State Historic Preservation Officer and the State Archaeologist.
Thank you, Michelle. And I believe that is all of the consulting parties that have called into the meeting. If I am missing anybody, please jump in and introduce yourself before we proceed with GSA staff introductions. Any other consulting party that I've missed?
I'm gonna call.
Okay, let's proceed with introductions of GSA staff. Myself, most of you have seen me in some of these meetings in one capacity or another. My name is Ugo Agarde. I'm the Region 7 Historic Preservation Officer. Let's see, next on my screen is Natalie.
Hi, I'm Natalie Luciano, the Historic Preservation Specialist with the Center for Historic Buildings supporting Region 7.
Thank you, Natalie. Then Jamie.
Hi, I'm Jamie D'Angelo. I'm a Historic Preservation Specialist with Region 7.
Victoria.
Hello, my name is Victoria Clow. I'm also a Regional Historic Preservation Specialist with Region 7. And I'm also going to take this opportunity to introduce my colleague, Carla Carmichael, who is not able to be off mute at this particular second. She is our NEPA specialist for Region 7.
Thank you, Victoria. Jeff.
Hey everyone, my name is Jeff Jensen. I'm a historic preservation specialist in the Center for Historic Buildings. I serve as a liaison between our central office in Washington and Region 7.
Thank you, Jeff. If we could move to Mingo.
Hi, I'm Mingo Tingle, and I'm a historic preservation specialist for Region 7.
Thank you, Mingo. Let's see, our next GSA staff, Helen.
Hi, I'm Helen Kearns. I'm Regional Counsel for Region 7.
Thank you, Helen. Next, Jorge.
Hi, everyone. George Pineda here, Region 7 Public Affairs Officer.
Thank you. Let's see, Stephen.
I'm Stephen Curran. I'm the Supervisory Property Manager here in Albuquerque.
Thank you, Stephen. Shayla.
Good afternoon. This is Shayla Gear-Smith. I'm also with the Office of Strategic Communications within Region 7.
Thank you, Shayla. And I believe the last GSA staff member on this call is Stuart.
Hi, I'm Stuart Blakely, and I'm the GSA Building Manager, the physical custodian of the monument.
Thank you, Stuart. And Beth, you've already introduced yourself. Is there anything else you would like to add on your behalf?
No, sir. Take it away, Ugo.
Okay, thank you. So let's proceed here with a brief slide presentation on the monument. So this is the monument as you see it today, or more specifically as the monument was photographed in spring of this year. You could see the monument clearly behind the plywood barrier and the top portion of the remaining obelisk tarped over. To give everyone a brief location of where the monument currently sits, as we've mentioned before, it's in front of the Santiago y Campos U.S. Courthouse there in Santa Fe. The aerial image on top shows it clearly in front of the 1800s courthouse. The map on the bottom shows its specific location reference to the property line. So what has been our previous engagement and consultation? So GSA has hosted 3 specific government-to-government consultation meetings with New Mexico area tribes. The first one was in December of last year. The second was at the end of January, and the third was in the spring of this year at the initiation of the site documentation study. Regarding Section 106, so GSA has reached out to various consulting parties as well as the State Historic Preservation Officer. Our first initial consulting party meeting was a virtual Zoom meeting, much like this one, that we conducted on May 9th. The second virtual public meeting was on July 18th. This is where we shared some of the options that had been discussed in previous meetings, and the public was invited to that meeting. And then our most recent consultation is from our letter that Beth referenced earlier in the meeting, sent to the New Mexico State Historic Preservation Officer on October 1st of this year regarding the monument's integrity. We have, to this date, we have not heard a response thus far from the SHPO's office or any other consulting parties. just a quick slide of images of the monument that were taken earlier this month. I believe before we proceed to the next conversation, were there any other comments? This is the opportunity for those of you consulting parties on this call to provide us any comments on either the monument or the letter that was sent out to the New Mexico SHPO's office. And if okay with everybody on the call, I would like to proceed with the consulting parties on this call. I guess let me start out. The images on my Hollywood squares have changed. So first up would be Heather Lamboy with the city. Heather, did you have any comments, concerns regarding the letter that GSA submitted to the SHPO's office and or the monument itself?
Not at this time. I don't have any concerns or comments. I just, just following along for right now. And thanks for including me in this process.
Okay. And don't hesitate to jump in and ask questions at any time. Let me move to Pamela. Pamela, I think I understood you have some voice challenges. Are there any comments that you would like to make specifically regarding the monument and or the letter that GSA submitted to the SHPO's office?
Well, the only thing I would say, I was uncertain after reading all the documents that you provided to us earlier in the month. If it is felt that the monument could truly be reconstructed physically.
Okay.
Or is the damage too great?
That is something that GSA is considering. We currently have a condition assessment underway on the monument itself. Pamela, any other thoughts?
Well, also, I know actually the first statement I read from my board, it mentioned if the monument could not be safely reconstructed on site, or there's another reason not to be there having to do with safety and security of the federal property, would it be possible to move to the National Cemetery? Which I think anybody in Santa Fe knows they're really talking about that for the Soldiers Monument monument on the plaza also, but that didn't seem to be listed as one of the places that had been recommended to be considered to move it to.
Correct. So GSA, under the current consultation, GSA did consider the option of relocating the monument. And we did do some due diligence regarding the National Cemetery there. And unfortunately, the National Cemetery's policies preclude accepting a donation to an individual soldier. So that option, even though it's still being considered, is not a feasible option, a viable option.
Okay, yes, actually, I think I'm recalling something about that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments, Pamela, or should we move on to the next?
No more, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Let's see, the next consulting party on my screen is Michelle Enzi. Michelle, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I was double muted.
No worries.
So I am prepared to provide a letter after this meeting that concur with GSA's no adverse effect determination.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, Michelle, or should we move to the next consulting party?
No, my only other comment was, like I mentioned to you when we talked last week, was that I feel that, you know, other consulting parties should be continue to be invited during the NEPA process or any other subsequent Section 106 consultation to provide their comments, as well as the tribes.
Okay. Absolutely, will do. Thank you. Let's see, the next consulting party is Dr. Bernstein.
I think Michelle's comment summarized the Pueblo San Ildefonso's comments as well. No adverse effects. I think a broader range of consultations would be a great help, and very much in particular to the situation with the Soldiers Monument, which could be extended to the Kit Carson Monument, is to, again, seek out and find and actually consult with all of the Tewa Pueblos, not just one or two. I think that'd be important to constructing something that is, you use the word safe, I guess these days in Santa Fe, and also more inclusive. But I would add that on to Michelle's comments.
Thank you, Dr. Bernstein. And just to quickly reiterate, Dr. Bernstein, GSA is part of the tribal consulting sessions that we had on a government-to-government basis. We did ask which of the tribes wanted to continue as consulting parties, and 8 of them expressed interest in remaining as consulting parties, and the remainder of the tribes have dropped off. But we can certainly make the site documentation report available to all of the tribes that have an interest in Santa Fe.
Yeah, I think that the consultation is, like many consultations work, people express interest and don't have enough time or personnel in their offices. But I think in the situation as it exists, the particular situation as it exists in Santa Fe, just requires a little more diligence on GSA's part. And I think that would be appreciated, particularly by the governor and council from San Ildefonso, that we'd have a much more representative group commenting where people have access to those comments.
Okay. Thank you. Very well thought out. Next on my screen is Larry Samuel.
Yeah, I know problems with the letter with no adverse effects on that. The only thing that the public that we were looking at is if the monument stays, then there will be future graffiti or vandalism again. So we're looking at the safety for all that. So that was our concern with that, is maybe removing it.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel. I do vaguely recall that that was a concern mentioned in some of the consultations, that leaving the monument in place would likely present a continued safety concern. Are there any other comments, concerns, questions from the consulting parties? I believe I've caught everybody already before we move to the next slide.
Okay, this is Pam Najowski again.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one clarifying question. The way I understand it, the reason why, like garbage cans, the monument is non-contributing is because it's such a mess. In its current shape, it is non-contributing. Is that correct?
That's let me elaborate on that. That is something, so when the federal government or really any other entity studies either a building, an object, a monument, a property for eligibility for listing in the National Register of Historic Places, a study has to obviously occur. And a property essentially needs to meet one of 4 criteria that would demonstrate it has significance to history. And secondly, the monument would need to demonstrate that it retains integrity. And this integrity conversation is where GSA looked at the monument, and there's, by the way, there's 7 aspects of integrity that GSA considers when analyzing a potential historic property. And of those 7 aspects, design, materials, and craftsmanship are 3 of the aspects that have been severely compromised for the monument itself. And so it's GSA's opinion that the monument has lost its ability to relay its significance because of its compromised integrity. Beth, I don't know if that's explanation.
Well, yes, and I think that we, as we articulated it in the letter in our determination of October 1st, and it goes back to your original question, however, Pamela, which we are still analyzing, and there will be information on the potential for reconstructability of the monument in the NEPA assessment that everyone will receive and have the ability to comment on. Integrity is also, it's a fascinating concept because there is great misinterpretation about integrity being able to be, once integrity is gone, it's gone, and it cannot be reconstructed. And so our determination is it's gone, which means it's no longer a historic, making a historic contribution to the cultural landscape, particularly in the Federal Oval, and that the monument itself, through the acts that took place that have been well documented, it has been destroyed. The question then becomes how we treat what we do with what you're seeing on the screen right now. And it also is based on topics and potential approaches that were discussed in the tribal consultation. It also, of course, includes Mr. Samuel's point about public safety. I mean, we have, GSA has been concerned about the safety of the public since the damage to the monument began quite some time ago. And then it reached the point that it reached here. I mean, it was easy enough to clean off paint, no matter how many times it was tagged. We were dutifully trying to remove those materials that were denigrating sandstone. But the point to where it is now illustrated here, it no longer has integrity, and the question then becomes, what is the further treatment of a non-contributing feature in the landscape? And that is what will be further assessed in the EA that everyone will receive, all the consulting parties, all the tribes, and the public, and have the opportunity to comment on that analysis before a final decision is made by GSA to move forward. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, and of course that complicates any idea about moving it anywhere. I mean, if it doesn't have integrity here now on its base, what's it going to have anywhere?
Well, and you put that on top of when you look at the National Register criteria, there are 4 criteria, as Ugo mentioned, but there are 7 exceptions. So for every 4 rules, you have 7 exceptions to the criteria, one of which is for cultural assets that are moved. They are considered an exception. And so once properties are moved, there would be another set of considerations. So if it were feasible, if we had a party that was interested in, which we have yet to identify through the due diligence we have done and following up on the suggestions in the consultation, then it also, the logistics of doing that, the cost of doing that, the amount of material that would be denigrated further with the disassembly of the remaining materials, and then how much new material would actually be needed to try to do a reconstruction of the property. All of those factors would come into consideration. So we're in, you know, we're in a tough spot here, and we are trying to do the right thing. And we're trying to do the right thing also by the community, within the context, as our original, Ugo's original initiation letter for the consultation stated, we're also trying to do the right thing within the current context, in the current community context, and what has repeatedly happened and why it has happened to what we're looking at here. And how is it that we can move forward with doing something to acknowledge a broader history for the Oval, which is why we undertook the study that you all received an executive summary of. And how is it that there might be a different or reinterpretation of the Federal Oval, the monument, etc., that is reflective of current contemporary values that have been expressed, not only in this consultation, but in the public realm. And there is no one size fits all, and there is no singular answer to that, as we see not only within the city of Santa Fe and how other monuments have been the subject of quite a bit of attention, and in communities across the country in the last several years. And I don't think it's something that we have seen the end of. You know, when we're talking about public space and we're talking about the public and the multifaceted nature of the public, how do you come to a good conclusion for something like that? It's a challenge, and that's why we're listening, and that's why we are trying to hear as much as we can to inform how we go forward.
And let's see, I believe, Heather, you raised your hand.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say that I sort of skipped over previously. The city finds and agrees with the State Historic Preservation Office that there's no adverse effect. The only thing that I would speak to is from the historic streetscape scenario. So as you know, this provides a terminus between the federal land from as one proceeds on Lincoln to the north. And, you know, there's a big urban design element about it. So does the NEPA process also consider that type of issue, that it will still function as a terminus and be framed by the courthouse, whatever the new thing may be that would be agreed upon by the community? Or do you think that you're just going to do away with it?
Well, I think that it's been introduced into the consultation process previously, and you've just reiterated that. So I think that there is clearly room for there to be some acknowledgement of the terminus by still having something in this location, even if it is not what it was historically.
Okay, yeah, that would be the only comment. Certainly we understand the framework, the cultural framework and those concerns, and the city would support some other alternative and finds no adverse effect for all the options listed.
Thank you, Heather. Are there any other consulting party comments, concerns, or questions? Mr. Samuel, I see that you probably inadvertently dropped off but jumped back on.
Yes, as my computer.
No worries. Any other comments, questions?
No, not at this time.
Thank you. So why don't we move to the next portion, or next slide. As we've mentioned in previous consulting party meetings, this process will go through a NEPA analysis. And for that, Jamie, if I can get you to speak on this slide.
Sure. So very briefly, our next step is to go through the NEPA process and draft and publish an EA, the draft EA. This will include an analysis of the 5 options that we've discussed previously and an identification of the preferred alternative. We'll also include the Section 106 record, the condition assessment Ugo spoke about previously, and a summarized version of the Federal Oval Study as appendices in that document. The date of publication, we're aiming for November 22nd, pending a response on our Section 106 process, because we'd like to include that, as well as the results of the condition assessment, because that will include information about the feasibility of these alternatives, how feasible it is to relocate, repair, store, remove, etc. This will include a minimum 30-day review period to receive public comments. In terms of publishing, we are planning on posting the draft EA to the Kit Carson Monument website and providing notice in local papers, posted in the public library, and on the monument. We'd previously posted a QR code on a notice on the physical monument, and we can do this again. It can be scanned and then you can email comments from that location. We will also be emailing consulting parties when the draft EA is available. Let us know if there are other ways that we should publicize this, other opportunities to share this, other places we could post a notice when the draft EA is available. That's all I have, unless there are questions.
Thank you, Jamie. Any questions or comments from the consulting parties regarding the upcoming NEPA process?
Heather made a comment and Ugo in the questions, and she said we could put a link in the city's website if you wish.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Heather. And we can certainly, if any of the consulting parties on this call have follow-up comments, perhaps something you're not remembering at the moment, something that comes to mind either later this week or next week, you can certainly email me. And my email, I think, is on this next slide. You're certainly welcome to send something via U.S. Post Office to the address shown here. But it is much, much easier if you're able to send us an email. That is the extent of our agenda today. Before we adjourn, let me ask members of the consulting parties if there's any last minute questions or comments you would like to provide GSA.
Ugo, Dr. Bernstein mentioned that do what you can to create more open process one of the critiques of the Soldiers Monument in the New Mexican story.
Okay, was that a comment for the Soldiers Monument or?
Yes, it's just this, Bruce. It's just a suggestion. We've got to learn something from the Soldiers Monument in terms of this. It hasn't received a lot of public notice. It's not as noticeable in some funny way, but it will become more noticeable as the process comes forward. The New Mexican might be too much. I know the city can comment on that more than I can. But it is a continuing, the Soldiers Monument is a continuing point of heated discussions in the community.
Thank you, Dr. Bernstein. And that is the reason we have our public affairs officer on this call.
Right.
We will likely engage the newspapers as we go through the NEPA process.
Yeah, the best place to see what the community is thinking is actually in the comments section to the articles in the New Mexican. If you haven't looked already, is that Jamie who's doing the look at those comments? You really get a sense of the parties and the vehemence in which the conversation is taking place.
And Dr. Bernstein, just for clarification, is this the comments section to the individual articles online, or is it in the physical paper itself?
I would look online. It's the easiest place to access them.
Okay. Okay. Jorge, if I can ask you, do you have an account that would let you see the New Mexican online?
Yes, Hugo, and I'll make sure I can. So thank you, Dr. Bruce. We'll take care of that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Bernstein. And Victoria, I am not able to see my chat window for some reason. Are there any other chats that have come through or Q&As that have come through?
Just GSA staff acknowledging Dr. Bernstein's comment.
Okay. Thank you. Hearing no other comments from consulting parties, Beth, unless you want to go through and hear from GSA staff, we can probably adjourn. Would you like to hear from GSA staff?
Well, if GSA staff has anything that they need to add, absolutely. But I think we've covered what we planned to cover in the agenda. I really appreciate the comments that we have received from the consulting parties. And we do look forward to getting the EA published. If you do have more comments, I would encourage folks not to send snail mail if they want to put something in writing, because of the schedule by which we are trying to get the draft EA published, which is only 23 days from now. So email would be more effective, that we could then be addressing and incorporating. And we would like to address and incorporate as much as possible into that document.
Any other comments from GSA staff?
I would like to ask a question. There was the comment made, and I'm looking to see, it may have been Dr. Bernstein, when you were saying that you would like to see more due diligence on GSA's part to consult with the tribes. Do you have, and it doesn't need to be now, but if you have suggestions for how we might continue to pursue that, we are happy to do so. And we do understand that tribes are extraordinarily busy and under-resourced. We also understand that on Friday, it's the beginning of Native American Heritage Month, which makes the month of November even busier for things that tribes are trying to deal with in this time frame. But if you have specific suggestions for other things that we could try, we'd be very, very welcoming of those suggestions.
If you would just send me an email, Beth, and then I'll send you back some comments, okay? Make some
Perfect.
recommendations.
I will
Thanks.
absolutely do that. Thank you.
I
Okay,
have I have a comment also. About, I was interested in the fact that there wasn't any representation from any veterans organizations, given that this statue up until November was essentially or October last year, was essentially in the hands of veterans organizations. And in New Mexico, the veterans organizations have been very, that's one way to get a lot of Hispanic representation, which there hasn't been on this consulting parties.
Thank you for that, Pamela. And in response to that, one of the things that we found to be of interest was that the organization who donated, the Sons of Union Veterans, who donated the statue to GSA so that we could proceed with this consultation, they declined the invitation to participate in this public consultation.
Okay.
okay.
I don't,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pamela.
no, I mean, I never heard of that organization in Santa Fe or in New Mexico, so I don't even know if they're active here at all. That wasn't really the veterans organizations I was thinking about.
Correct. Trust us. That was an organization we didn't know existed either until we found out who owned it. So
yeah.
Well, thank you all very much. I think we are close to the end of our meeting hour here. I would again like to thank you for taking time from your busy schedules, in all likelihood part of your lunch hour. For that, I apologize, but thank you very much. And as I mentioned earlier, please do not hesitate to reach out to GSA. My email is on your screen, as well as our physical address. Please feel free to take a screenshot of that, and you can certainly send me an email, and we will have your comments. Again, thank you all very much. With that being said, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all. You all have a good day.